What's up? I'm Vid, and you're watching Vid's channel. And on today's episode, we are going to be talking about reprogramming, what it is, how we do it, and the benefits. And if I can think of any cons to it, I honestly, yeah, I can. Okay. So yeah, let's get into it. Reprogramming is editing and revising your subconscious mind, would be how I would say it in my own words. Because sometimes we learn lessons without realizing, and your subconscious mind starts and ends very young, which means that your environment is kind of your internal dialogue. And I know that sounds really big to unpack. We don't have to unpack that right now. Reprogramming, I teach a lot on this channel. I teach it without using the phrase because the phrase makes it sound a little scary. I know. It sounds a little strange. And it is, don't get me wrong. It is a strange process because you're basically rewriting your mind. But you can do it in small measurements. And when you do it in small measurements, it makes large differences, which then later makes it seem like you're more balanced and whole. And I'm not saying like it seems, it makes you more balanced and whole in a sense. An example of reprogramming that I teach a lot, if you've been on this channel for a while, is the way you talk to yourself. That was a program, but you had to redo it. You had to redirect the words that you say, you had to replace them. It's like I said, edit and revising. Like we used to do when we were in school, like that writing. I don't know if everyone had it, actually. I had a creative writing program. It wasn't a program because it wasn't an option. You had to do it every day, but it was around, I want to say 6th grade. No, it was 5th grade in San Jose. I'm not really sure if everyone had it because I only really grew up in the Bay Area, so I don't know if it was the same everywhere else. The creative writing, I think we had an hour of writing. You would write your own ideas. You'd make a paragraph. You'd make, I think it was 4 paragraphs. The introduction, the body, there was I think it was the summary after that, and then the conclusion at the end. You'd write it, you'd read it, you'd revise it. You'd write it, you'd read it, you'd revise it. And it's still going, and then you'd have someone else read it, and then you'd revise it based on what they said. And then you have the final draft. And I know you're like, what are you talking about? But that's kind of what we do with our mind when we reprogram. If writing isn't working for your mind, you're like, this isn't it, I don't care, this doesn't make sense to me. You're probably more of a computer person, which I totally get. Computers are awesome. It's like recoding your brain, if that's your forte. It's as if you were given an unprotected firewall and all you've done your whole life is get hacked. Now you're learning where the hacking was and how you can fix that firewall, if that helped. I hope someone understood that because that was a very... Okay. I haven't talked about computers on this channel, but it's okay. I'm fine with that. So even that was revision. I wouldn't have said that before. That is final draft or the final code, if you will. The benefits of it is you are a more in tuned person with yourself. You are more peaceful, you are more understanding, you are more caring. Any attribute, you're really more of it because you have given yourself so much back that it's like you started over, like a rebirth. And I know rebirth sounds weird to people who don't really subscribe to certain terms, but it's just starting over. Like you've refreshed the page and you've made the critiques that were needed. The cons, though, I know you're like, we're kind of still stuck on the cons. The cons are more in the sense that you can see other people's rough drafts or broken codes. Because once you start to heal yourself, you start to see how unhealed the people who may have caused your wounds, or the people that you are entering's life, how they're still wounded. That's the only con I can think of. Other than like feeling like you're the only person who deserves you, which for some aspects of life, that's true. Sometimes we're supposed to keep some parts of ourselves quiet. I'm not saying like keep yourself a secret, but I mean sometimes victories are just ours for personal reasons, and we can internalize that victory and we don't have to like broadcast it everywhere. You can if you want to, but sometimes it feels more special if you leave it to yourself. But I'm saying you may feel like you're scared again to get hurt or wounded. I use wounded instead of broken because you're never broken, you're only wounded. But I feel like my point's not getting across. Hold on. Oh, you could be scared that it's gonna happen again and you're gonna have to heal again. But the fun part about that is, one, now you know you're reliable and will do the healing and the work. And two, you get to experience new lessons, new people, and new things. So you can get past the fear. And you can get past the seeing other people's wounds and how they were wounded and why they were wounded. Even to a point where you may want to tell them, hey, when I went through that, it was because of this. Or you can just keep it quiet. You don't really have to talk about it. But reprogramming is really just giving your brain a face mask. It's fixing those things that we didn't know we let get in there. Those little habits that you picked up from childhood that are like, oh, people aren't actually supposed to do that if they're healthy. Or even just things that you internalized as a younger kid, or even just teenager or adulthood. Sometimes we internalize things too far, and we do that because we are unhealed, because we didn't know that you were supposed to heal. No, your trauma is not your fault. Yes, it is your responsibility to heal it. And on that note, I hope you enjoyed this reprogramming video. Allow yourself to be open to new things.